morning, everybody. Good morning, folks online. Morning, everybody. Welcome to the 9th conversation. So morning, good afternoon, good evening for those online who are joining us for our 9th conversation. My name is Rose Ravnanyonga. I'm your Vice Chancellor and the host for the series. We want to thank you for those who are consistent in these conversations. Last night I sent a communication to highlight why it's important for us to continue to have momentum going forward as we grow, as we seek to have a purpose, to have impact, where we live, where we work. And I talked about a body in motion, okay? A body in motion stays in motion, okay? You have to be propelled to have velocity, to move forward. And the moment you stop, everything stops. So for us to grow as leaders, we need that constant momentum. And as you recall, one of the phrases I've been using in the past is that if you are going to fall forward, okay? If you're going to fall, so we are not saying your leadership journey is going to be perfect. It's not. It's going to be challenging, but if you're going to fall forward. I also have talked a lot about why these series are important. We know that we have a prescribed curriculum, and most of the time, 98% of all of you are in some kind of health science program. You spend the majority of your brain orienting yourself around anatomy and physiology, about livers and bones and all kinds of things, okay? But when you graduate from Clarke International University and you land yourself in IHK, in Zambia, in Mulago, people expect you to be more than a physiology expert, okay? They expect you to know where to find that vein and insert and put a drip. But they also expect you to communicate. They also expect you to advocate for them. They also expect you to solve their problems, as patients. They expect you to link them to resources and a greater network of healthcare providers. They expect you to be doing a lot more. In other words, they expect you to lead from the bedside to the boardroom. So these conversations are designed to add value that way, to talk and discuss some of the things we don't get to see in the curriculum. This is our 9th conversations. We've talked about how then shall we lead. We've talked about discovering and sustaining purpose. We've talked about off topics such as addictions. We had Dr. Kasenene here to talk about the importance of food and bodies. We've talked about finances. How do we manage our finances? How do we remain financially viable, as young professionals I'm sure we can continue that discussion today since we have Standard Chartered Bank representatives here. Last night I sent you mail and I said if you are looking to bank, getting loans, small to medium enterprise, support for the businesses you are starting or you've already started or you'd like to start in the future, those officers are here and we invite you to have those deeper conversations. Even after Mr. Sanjay has gone, I'm sure they can be available if you want to have those conversations. So today I want to welcome you back into the conversation with an outstanding leader, Mr. Sanjay Rughani, the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank, Uganda. Big round of applause. I want to recognize our leaders in the room, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, welcome. Professor John Charles Okiya, the Dean of Allied Health. Senior managers, the human resource manager and the librarians are in the room. The chair of the Staff Association, Dr. Christopher Wako, is in the room. Several managers and lecturers and student governing bodies are also in the room. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and all our students who are here today. Now, without wasting time, I would like to invite Dr. Nova Singh, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, to invite our speaker for today. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's a wonderful privilege to have this 9th conversation on the Lead, Innovate, and Transform series. We have been having some of the best luminaries in town, in the country, to speak to our staff and students, not just physically, but also online, because what we do here is sent across all the 5 continents. And we have a huge following, and every conversation that we have here. And as we consolidate this year, it is such a wonderful privilege to have Mr. Sanjay, who is the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank. Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjay. He has a rich CV. He is also the president of the Bankers Association of Africa, and he is also holding many other key positions. And I'm sure we are going to share much more when he comes to the front. Mr. Sanjay is also I would say, a circle of influence in the field of finance. He has got a high-hand influence, not only in the Uganda Development Bank, but also in the African Development Bank. I've also read many other articles about his influence and his expertise in the field of economy and economic governance in Uganda as well. To lead the Standard Chartered Bank, one of the best banks around, is not an easy job. He is a man who spends more time up in the air than on the land because he travels extensively. I approached him, I think, 2 months ago, and I was not doubtful that he would accept, because I know he loves speaking to young people. He always loves to connect with the Gen Zs. He also loves to connect with the growing and the budding population, and specifically spending much time in Africa. He loves the way in which the African societal fabric is woven. And that is one thing that I always see in him and I'm always fascinated about. So to have him this morning is such a wonderful privilege for Clarke International University with his staff. And this is not just a one-stop arrangement that CIU has got. We would love to have a long-term relationship, because CIU is one of the best private medical institutions in the whole of East Africa. And our leverage in the field of healthcare goes beyond the articles published on the papers. So it is such a wonderful opportunity to have Mr. Sanjay this morning, and he has a great love and passion for his family as well. So for such a busy person to have that work-life balance, it was important for him and also for us to know from him how we could establish that work-life balance. And this would be a wonderful series for this year 2024. And we are all eager to listen and to hear from you, Mr. Sanjay. This is your time. Let's put our hands together.
Thank you. I'm sure whenever, can you hear me? I said, I'm sure whenever a speaker comes, you hear about all these nice things about them. What you need to pay in your mind is who's going to be talking about me someday. Because when you pay it in your mind, it's when you desire to be here. I am very humble, very privileged to be talking to you all. I will say a few things and would like to correct a few things. I'm not the president of Bankers for Africa. I'm actually a president, I'm an accountant. So I preside over the International Federation of Accountants, the global body for accountancy. And it has one of the biggest governance bodies, which is called Professional Accountants in Business. So together we are 3.5 million qualified chartered accountants. I'm a president there, just as a clarity. But I do sit on the Uganda Bankers Association Executive Committee. And being a banker, I think that's definitely a privilege. Now, I will also say that I like spending time in Africa. I also will tell you I'm in Tanzania, so it makes it easy for all of us. You can talk in Swahili or English, whichever is your preference. So remember, my mother tongue is Swahili. So I'm very much from this continent and from this region. But it was very interesting that 2 months ago, or just over 2 months ago, I got a call from America to say, just come and talk to my, the students. We have a few staff, and we've got this series, as Madame Rose put it, of interaction with leaders. So first of all, it's very humbling that I was chosen to be able to engage with you all. I was telling Madame Rose that, if people think I've arrived, I don't feel that. I think I'm still on a journey. So being here is very humbling. Because we're all in a mission. The worst thing I could do to myself is feel that I'm already arrived. Then I don't want to feel it. So we're talking about work-life balance. So it's interesting, when I spoke to Mr. Milka about 2+ months ago, I was telling we were discussing what should you talk to students. So we could talk about banking, accountancy. Some people feel I'm great with networking, and I feel that nowadays children or youth have a lot of problems in networking, connecting. If you have to connect with me, how do you connect? It's not easy, is it right? Because we all want to connect on technology. We have lost the human interaction. In a world where 78% of the world is connected on mobile phone, sadly, many of us are disconnected in many ways. The amount of disconnection is increased. Then I said we can talk about personal branding, because I've been to some Rotary events and I've spoken about that. Anyway, we spoke about a few things. And then the story finished, we booked the date. And then just this last week, I was looking at social media and I see my picture. Sanjay Rughani is going to talk at Clarke University. Great, we both I agreed. And then the topic was work-life balance. I was like, what? Where did work-life balance come from? But Arnold, who I spoke to yesterday, decided I'm going to talk about work-life balance. I'm probably not the best example of work-life balance, So immediately after I spoke to Arnold, I was talking to my wife. Told me, my wife is the CEO in Tanzania. So you can imagine we are two busy souls. And I told her, I'm going to talk about work-life balance. And I have some staff, colleagues of mine here. They will know how busy my life is, in essence. And she laughed. My wife laughed immediately because she said, do they really understand that you have a very different definition of work-life balance? So I was talking to Rose today. She said there are all these TED talks and all these discussions in this world around work-life balance. I just want to share my own thoughts. I don't want to challenge anybody's thinking. I think as an African, I have my own way of thinking about life and work. And what is beautiful in my life is that the two connected makes me more fulfilled. So first of all, I want to tell Madame Rose and everybody that I personally don't believe there is something called work-life balance. Let me start like that. Why do I feel this? So this is a book, by the way, I only write in technology books. So imagine I'm trying to balance this. Yeah. And then she talked about what velocity and what did you talk about? Yeah, so motion and velocity, how am I going to balance? It's very difficult. Life is all about choices. That's why I say it's work-life choices. And when you think about work-life choices, or when you think about work-life balance, it has three important components. The three important components is you need to have health, because if you don't have health, there is no balance or choice. Is it right? You need to have wealth. It's very important. It's survival. Let's start with survival and then affordability. In life you have to sort the needs and then you have to sort the wants. But the most important thing when you think about work-life or work-life choices is really this thing called happiness. Which is very critical. You can be in a very different, my life and Madame Rose's life is very different. So balancing models are different. But as long as we are happy, we will feel that balance. Because the balance is what? It's the comfort with yourself. It is where your mind is being used to create the purpose you have built. So I'm not going to sound like a philosopher today. I'm going to talk about Sanjay and what he feels about work-life balance. Okay. How many of us feel we are very busy? How many of us feel we are very busy? Thank you, I'm very busy. Oh, your students are not busy, which is very nice. But I think there is this constant pressure of the number of things we want to do in life, is it not? Also spending between 4 to 6 hours on mobile technology, whatever it is called. So you feel that for some it's not moving very fast. It's okay. Because that's how you feel, yeah? Feelings are personal. I'm going to give you the good news and the bad news. The good news is we are part of this very fast world. So what we decide out of this is our choice. The bad news is the future is only going to get faster. It's not going to get slower. So this is the slowest the world can get. It is only going to get faster. So imagine in a world that is more faster, how are you going to balance? That's why I really like what Madame Rose says, that it's on the go. You have to keep in the motion. The train is always moving. You need to know which compartment you want to be part of, what destination you want to take. Am I making sense? Yes. Yeah, if I'm not, please put your hand up. I'm told the brightest students. and I'm going to test you. So, how do I balance my life? How do I make the choices in my life? So I've learned something in life that, and particularly for some of us who are in this part of the world, and with the jobs that I do, in my life, there is nothing predictable. Many things are predictable, many things are not predictable. So I've decided I will have some structure for about 60% of my life or 70% of my life. My assistant, if she was here, Tracy would say, that's planning my diary. I put it structure because she plans it for me. She knows whether I'm talking to Musa or whoever. But what I have in life is something called a purpose. Because I've learned that when you have a purpose in life, the universe actually conspires to make it happen. Because everything else will not matter, will not bother. That is the biggest compass that you have to give you health, wealth, and happiness. Of course, you need to work for your health, but because you have a purpose, you do something about yourself to keep active, to keep in the motion. And when you hit your purpose, you'll also be building your wealth. And wealth, by the way, in many ways, we call wealth as money. I was just reading a book called Die with Zero, and I learned that wealth is many things. It's wisdom, it is the experiences that you have, it is the friendships that you create. There's many things in life that you actually acquire that actually we need to, you can acquire so many things in life, you need to know how to spend it. And that is where you achieve the biggest happiness. Even the wisdom that you have, if you share it, it's more exciting. Is it right? Yeah? So this work-life balance has to have people in the equation. It's when you are with people and when you are giving out what you have, is when you are enjoying it best. Am I making sense? Yes. So like I said, I have a purpose in life. Now let's bring it to Wananchi, Africa. Yeah, I like that. So I was born in a place called Bear. Bear is about 70 kilometers away from Zambia, in this beautiful country of mine called Tanzania. I'm sure you all know Tanzania. It's just a neighbor country and it's very friendly to Uganda. Whenever I meet the president, we spend so much time because he loves Tanzania. Many of our leaders here grew up there, and certainly some leaders there grew up here. So we have a lot of cross-pollination. And that's very, very exciting. So I grew up in Tanzania. I remember my dad used to also be a banker. My dad was born in Zanzibar. How many of you have been to Zanzibar? Yeah, one person has, 2, 3, 4, maybe a few. I can tell you it's heaven on earth. Yeah, so beautiful, beautiful place. So my dad was then moved to mainland. So he was a banker. My dad was also an accountant. My dad had many habits. Our parents have habits. We also have habits. Yeah, Madam Rose has habits. We all have habits. Is that correct? So my dad had a habit. He used to wake up at 5:29 in the morning, and he would just go to the radio, and there was this big radio in his time, big one. He had also put a wire that used to go to the ceiling, because that's the only way you could get good network. Is it right? Yeah. Then you would tune in, and at 5:30 sharp, that radio would move to BBC World Service, and he would have his tea once he's listening to the radio, and he would feel happy. Because he's listening about the world. Is it right? Now, I was 4 or 5 years old. My brother is 1 year younger than me. In our house, we have 3 rooms. One room is for my parents, one room is for my younger sister, and one room is for me and my brother. So imagine where the radio was. My father would not afford to make his wife unhappy. Yeah. So you really can't put the radio there, is it right? Because otherwise he will hear the radio the whole day. So he couldn't afford that. And then my sister was very young, and she would start crying if you put the radio. So where is the radio then finally landed? It lands in my room. And we had this bunk bed, I used to sleep on the top and my brother used to sleep on the bottom. So imagine for a child at that time, what is the most precious thing is sleep. Every day in the morning, I still can hear the music that used to play. It used to be and it's BBC World Service. So one day, in Africa, we are not taught how to question our parents. Because we are not taught to question anybody. That's right. But I got the courage to have a nice, polite conversation with my dad, and I said, Dad, you keep hearing this radio in the morning. Every day. It's a ritual for him. So my obvious way was I was finding an excuse of how he should not hear the radio in that morning. So I said, but we are in Tanzania. Why don't you hear Tanzanian radio? Because it's playing the whole day. And why that early morning? My dad found it a reasonable conversation. I know in my days, my dad would, some would just say, come on, it's not your problem. But my dad was very reasonable. He was actually very nurturing to me. Every time I asked, he took time to understand me and respond. So he sat with me and said, you go to school today, when you come back to the talk. And when we came back, rightly, I spent time with him. And he said, we talked about the radio I listened to. So let me tell you why I listened to BBC. And in his mind, he had a philosophy that where I was in Tanzania was a very tiny part of the real world, the world that existed. He said, when I listen to BBC, I get context. I get to hear about things that I don't see, but I can feel that the world has more opportunities. There are things that are happening. There are global collaborations. There's innovation. There's prosperity. Of course, there are wars also. But I can think about different currencies. So he told me many jargons, which at that time, some made sense, some did not make sense. Remember, I was very young. But what had happened is my father went through a revolution in Zanzibar in 1964. So when my father's family was very big. So when revolution happened, some of the brothers moved or family moved to mainland, and some dispersed over the world. So Australia, UK, Canada, India, they all chose their destinations. So I was also privileged that I had a family which went through chaos, but they found some destinations in the world. So what's the good news? The good news is you have family visiting. Is it right? So when my uncle used to come, I used to see what he used to wear, the bag he used to carry, even the toothpaste that he had, even the shampoo that he had. By the way, I had never seen shampoo till the age of 10. And the first time I used it, I got very scared. I thought, what happened to my hair? But what I got to realize is clearly there is a big world that I don't see. Because my uncle used to talk about many, many things in life. Yeah. So in life, very young in life, I just want to cut this story short. I have a lot of experience to share. But I thought in my mind that I need to be part of that big world. I need to be relevant in the world. I can't just be in this small world and my dad keeps listening to the radio. I need to feel that world. My dad was fortunate. He used to work for Barclays Bank, so he had traveled a bit. He also traveled to India. So he had context. But as a poor African young child, I had no context, but I had an ambition. And my purpose there in the young life was whatever I do, I have to be part of the bigger world. I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't know what it really meant, but I only knew that it existed and I have to explore it. And this is what I said in life. If you have a purpose, you go give it your best shot. So everything I did after that was driven by, I want to be part of the global world. And what was interesting is whenever I spoke to people around me, they all had self-doubt. They all felt, the world is here, why not? Why do you want to go there? By the way, some of them said, but those are those are the ones that colonized us. So we had this very different thinking in life, which for my mind was not playing ball with me. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I'm a Tanzanian, like yourself, an African child, who has now had the privilege, I think by now I've visited over 40 countries, and now I'm the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank. And that only happened because I think I had a purposeful ambition to be part of that bigger life. Now, I also want to paint a narrative. Since we are all born in Africa, we actually are born with a lot of opportunities. A lot of opportunities. The whole world is coming here, is it right? Madame Rose coming back from America after her many years being there, you can see that's the best decision somebody can take because the opportunities are here. Here there is heart and soul. It's not just conception. We can feel things here in this continent of ours that we can't feel anywhere else. But what are some things that we have as narratives? I think as an African child, the first thing we have is we have a lot of tolerance. I was born in a hospital. The hospital did not probably have enough beds. The roads that took me home had a lot of potholes. We are a pothole nation here, is it right? You feel the potholes? The school I went to did not have enough benches, maybe. I was learning things that were a few years back. You're very fortunate. You're learning about today. But in my days, I was learning about something else. I didn't even realize it. I realized it late. In Uganda, in Tanzania, 99% of our cars are second-hand. Do you agree? We don't even know how to make a car yet. Is it right? A local car. Is it right? Many of us wear second-hand clothes. I used to wear second-hand clothes. I don't shy about it. Because that is what I could afford. Is it right? In life, you make a choice based on where you exist. We didn't have a voice. I spoke about that in essence. So we have many things that are common in Africa, but the reality is there is a big opportunity in this world that is also a reality. And there is a reality that there are people like Madame Rose and myself who have made it. So what I'm trying to say is there is a narrative around us that we can't do it, and yet there is an opportunity around us where you can do it. Now, when you think about work-life choices and work-life balance, the more you get into the zone of you can do it, you are actually becoming more balanced with yourself. Because this balance is with yourself, is really what I'm saying. I think the other thing that happens in our part of the continent is you all feel it's somebody else's problem. But it doesn't happen, or it's his problem. It's that guy's problem. It's because of the politicians. It's because the Britishers did this to us. You exist here, it's your problem. It's my problem. It's our problem. The minute you outsource the problem and feel pity on yourself, you have lost an opportunity. Because if somebody else did not do it, it's your best chance to do it. You exist in a world where things are not perfect. So why don't you take the opportunity to make it perfect? By the way, whether it was Britain, America, France, whatever, they also had imperfect days. But they had French people, British people, and American people who did not want to live with imperfect days. And I also want to not live with imperfect days. So my pursuit is every day to try and create a little bit more perfection in our world. I'm just trying to create the narrative. I also wanted to say that, when you think about the English alphabet, this, by the way, I said this as a joke. How many letters are there? 26. In many parts of Africa, there's only 25. Because we forget the letter Y. We don't know how to ask questions. We forget the letter Y. I can tell you, I have Douglas in this room. Hi, Douglas. Can you say hello? Yeah, Douglas is my driver, or somebody who I trust my life with. Remember, he's the one who takes me to my destination. He can think how he wants to think, but I'm very honored that he is working with me. But what I realized that in our world, whether it's Douglas, I have Vicky here, Nicholas, and Tracy, I have many people in life. Everybody is so polite that they have answers to everything in life. So if I ask Douglas, why is that guy crying? He will have an answer. Today morning, we saw somebody who was doing just like this on the road, and he was very happy. And if I ask him, why is he doing this? Douglas will have an answer. I think the point I'm trying to make is that we all are very creative about the answers. We don't take to ask the why. We don't want to embrace the reality. And remember, nobody here is same. We all have a different reality. But every time I ask a Ugandan or a Tanzanian, they will have an answer. Why did he do this? They will have a whole philosophy of why he did this. So I'm trying to say, look at our brains. We're very creative in creating stories. Why don't we get reality and create the stories we want to see? Because in every story we say, we are finding a story that needs to be right. Am I making sense? Yeah? So again, getting back to work-life balance, it's about health, wealth, and happiness. Happiness comes when you achieve something in life. Let us talk about happiness a little bit more. How many of us are stressed at the moment? How many of us are worried? How many of us are concerned? How many of us have problems? Why is it so hard in this university to put your hands up? Because that's a problem, is it right? Yeah? Good. So most of us have something or the other which is a problem, is it right? So one of the other philosophies I want to bring to your attention is, happiness is not short term, it's long term. Happiness is something with milestones that you will celebrate over a number of years. Happiness comes when, like Madam Rose said, I decided to come back to Uganda. That's a happiness moment for her. Look how excited she is. Is it right? Happiness is when Sanjay has become the CEO. By the way, I was the first Tanzanian to be the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank in Tanzania after the bank was there for 98 years. Yeah, that is happiness. I'm just going to give you, because you have talked about problems, how many of you think you have a problem which after 5 years is going to be a problem still? These are the problems that don't help us do important things in life. And a lot of us just worry about everything. In this world, we worry about everything, things that we have no control about. That's why I like when Mika says he's in a circle of influence. Clearly, whatever you can influence in life, worry. What you can't influence, outsource it. Let somebody else worry, whoever needs to do. Yeah? And so happiness is about building long-term value, not short-term. I just wanted to add that when I say happiness, it's not I went to Facebook and I put a thumbs up and I'm happy, or Instagram, and somebody says you're dressed well. That's not happiness. That's a moment when you've got an expression that hit you. It's for a little bit time, it's a dopamine, you're medical students, is it right? Dopamine that hit you. But when I'm talking about happiness, your pursuit should be around creating long-term happiness. And I'm also adding, happiness is best achieved when that long-term purpose is for others. When you serve others, when you impact others, when you enable others, when you do something that is going to make a difference to not only yourself, but others, happiness is much bigger. Do we all agree? Yeah? So I was just going to share those moments of what I think about work-life balance. Now, if you're okay, I'm going to tell you some stories in life that has shaped my thinking around work-life balance. Because like I told you, this was a topic from Arnold. And when I asked Arnold, why am I talking about work-life balance? He said, by the way, I've been tracking you online. And when he tracks me online, he sees that whilst I'm really committed to my organization, I'm also committed to many other things. As I'm talking to you, I'm a board member of 7 different boards. You know, like Wilka said, I travel a lot. Every weekend, I'm trying to travel to someone who I can make happy. It can be my wife, my kids, or something that's going to rejuvenate me. And I'll talk about my lives in some time. But I also want to talk to you about the life that I learned, which have really helped me to become who I am, but also created this amazing work-life balance. And by the way, Arnold was very happy that I post about my kids online. I just post my feelings. And I think I'm very privileged to have 2 amazing kids who actually are in Canada at the moment. My son is a climate engineer, and my daughter is doing public health. So I was telling Madam Rose, someday she's going to come here. So let's talk about life in general. You know, in this technology world that we are in, we also live in a lot of myths. That things can just happen. Yeah? Because you can go to ChatGPT nowadays and quickly say, how do I talk to Mr. Sanjay? And ChatGPT will tell you how to talk to Mr. Sanjay. Is it right? It doesn't tell you how to talk, it'll give you some thoughts. I think the reality is technology is there for you to become more relevant. You know, you should learn to colonize technology rather than technology colonizing you. Don't become the slave of technology. Let technology become your slave. If you think that way, in life, you'll always play the A game. But I also think that nowadays youth, when I speak to a lot of youth, including my kids, you know, in my days, the world was a lot much more slow. Now the world is fast food, is it right? We just said it's moving at a completely crazy pace. So then everybody wants to become something very fast. Millionaire, want a car, want this, do that. You have so many demands of yourself. Is that right? Yeah? The only challenge is that this so many demands, you still have to work on it. So I have this analogy that I picked when I was very young. I thought, what was one thing in life that I learned that actually was so hard, but made me very happy? So in my young days, you know, bicycles. Nowadays you see bicycles and boda and everything everywhere. In my young days, getting a bicycle itself was a privilege. You know, we used to get it from China or wherever. And someday, if your father left his bicycle outside, he was very excited because now you had your moment. But I can tell you, riding a bicycle was so hard the first day. Balance, you know, how do you stand, where do you stop, how do you turn? Everything was complicated. Is it right? So I had to go through a lot of pain to then ride the bicycle, and I still ride the bicycle. I still enjoy the bicycle. When I'm on the bicycle, I am having my moment with myself. But it was a lot of hard work. Happiness comes when you want to go through the hardness of it. When you want to learn the skills to ride it in your own style. Remember, the way I ride a bicycle and you ride may be completely different. So just know every goal that you have in life, if you have this mindset, it's like riding a bicycle, which is going to have growing pains or pains, but ultimately success will make me happy. You should have that mindset. Don't ask for anything free and don't go for shortcuts because they will not live forever. Think about a bicycle. How many of you ride a bicycle, by the way? Let's see now. Do you put your hands up? This time it was better. So I still see about 80%. For those of you who don't ride bicycles, we shall have a separate session. There is no- Okay, the second thing I want to just say is there was a story that I heard when I was very young. There was a 6-year-old child and a 10-year-old brother. You know, nowadays I can see the grass there green, not many people. I can see it from here. When I was growing up, our world had so much space. You know, we could climb trees, we could do funny things. The amount of trust in that society was amazing. We were freebies. We didn't have technology, so we had time. But when I was young, I heard a story that we had two friends from our village who actually went a little bit far. Now, it still happens here in Uganda. What happens in Tanzania is water is a challenge for many people. Do you agree? So we have something called water wells. Do you know boreholes, water wells? We all know that? Yeah? So these two kids went to wander, and for some strange reason, I don't know what the big brother did, but he fell down in the well. The big brother was 10 years old, the young brother was 6 years old. Now, what happens in that time? You look for people around, is it right? There's nobody. So that 6-year boy saw that there was a bucket and a rope, because that's how wells are in those days. Nowadays there is a pump and water flows out. You know, he quickly put that bucket in, because he had seen how his parents were using the water, you know, and he tried very hard, you know, at 6. Not a strong guy, but at that time, you know, when the world is, there's nothing else to do, you kind of get an energy that, you know, put a lot of effort. To cut a long story short, the big brother survived. And it was because of the 6-year-old boy. And it's very challenging. So they come back to our town from the village, and they tell us the story. This happened to us today. And then almost everybody in the town looked at that 6-year-old boy and said, we can't have saved this guy. Why are you telling us the story? But the reality was that 6-year-old child had saved his brother. So anyway, the whole society felt that there is something fishy about this. Because how can this 6-year-old child, who probably is so hard to carry a bucket of water, can pull his brother? Now, whilst this was happening, there was a wise guy in town. We all have some wise people, is it right? Or uncles, somebody. So he called these two kids and he says, why don't you tell me what really happened? So he listened to them and got into the nitty-gritty, he asked them more questions. And he stood up and he said, well done. He carried that 6-year-old boy and said, I need to get you something because of what you did. So the first man who stood up embraced that child who had really saved a life. Now, you know, in those days, we didn't have lights. So we used to sit in the evening, all of us, and this became a discussion. Say, why were you so comfortable and confident about his story, and we were all not confident? You know, what changed? Why is it that you feel that this child could do this? This man stood up and he said that we're all asking the wrong question. The question we are asking is, did you do it or not? The question we need to ask him is, how did you do it? So in life, we have this question in our brain. Did he do it or he did not? And most likely we'll feel he didn't do it. You know, rather than asking, especially when you see something is not possible, that's the best time to deepen your thought on how did this happen. That's where you take the best learning. And what they realized in talking to the child, this is what the man told all of us, is the best thing that happened to the child was there was nobody around him. So now people are even more confused. There's nobody around him. then why is it the best thing? He said, it is just because there was nobody around him, he didn't have the voices that told him that he couldn't do it. And that's why he did it. In life, we are complicated. We always hear these voices that keep telling us, you cannot do it. Is that right? You know, you'll say, let me paint this. 10 people will stand around you and say, you can't do it. Is it right? If you say, can we make sure this road is done better? You can't do that. Yes, you see. Hey, can't do it. Is it right? We have these voices around us which make us timid, which make us incapable, which make us worry about things we should not worry about. So the best thing that happened to the child was nobody telling him, you cannot do it. And that's why he did it. I am also that child who, when I was growing up and wanted to be part of this big world, imagine how many people told me, you cannot do it. If I had heard their voices, would I have been talking to you today? No? Is that correct? And the other best thing was that the child did not even take the time to ask himself, can I do it? So sometimes don't even overthink things. Just do it. Are we together? When you believe in it, you want to make a difference, you feel something is not right, go and do it. What's going to happen? The worst thing that happens is you fail. And when you fail, what happens? Two things happen. You either learn, or you know that next time I'm going to do it better. Failure should be a standard thing in life you need to embrace. If you are not failing, you are not growing. We all want to be in our comfort zone. You cannot achieve work-life balance if you don't even know how to fail. Am I making sense? Good. Let me tell you another story. You know, we all are in schools, in society. You know, myself and Mickey work in an office. You know, when I'm sitting in this office, there was a story I heard that one day somebody in their office, you know, took time to send all of us an envelope. In that envelope, it was written that the person who was stopping you from growing, stopping you from getting your best next promotion, you know, fortunately has died. Fortunately, is the teacher who is not allowing you to grow. That politician, fortunately, has died. And it said, if you want to see this person for the last time, that person is downstairs in the coffin. Please go and pay respect. So what happens? You all look at that and say, wow, this person is gone. Let's go and see him for the last time. Everybody walks down and they go in that coffin, which was nicely set up. And when you look at that coffin, people got embarrassed because that coffin had a mirror. That coffin had a mirror. Don't blame others for your non-progression. Maybe you're being tested a little bit more, and God may want that because you become more stronger. But the only person who has the right on your life is yourself. A lot of us want others to do things to us. Why? Who are you doing things to? Every time you think, why is Mr. Mika not doing this for me, Mika, you have to start asking, who are you doing it for yourself? It's so easy to say this way, not this way. Am I making sense? Yeah? So that's another story. That if you want to achieve a good work-life balance, also know, other than yourself, nobody else is going to stop you. Yeah, you may take a different route. Sometimes things are tough. You know, I wanted to propose to a girl first time in my life. How many of you have to do that in life? Yeah, you all feel that way sometimes? I was very young. I think I was 17 or something, and I said, oh, it's my time. I like this girl. I needed to propose. It was very hard, by the way. And what happened the first time she said no? It was hard. Yeah. But you know what's the good news? Is I knocked another door. In life, there are many doors. You just have to be open to that. That someday, what you want, you may not get, but don't lose your purpose. Are we together? Everybody gets married, is it right? Everybody has a partner if you want. That's what science tells us. You are science people. So don't get disappointed if you didn't get it that day. Someday it will come to you. My next story. This is very interesting. I was very young and I went to study in India. And Mr. Milka will tell you that in India we have this season called monsoon. Yesterday we all saw a lot of rain. So when it's monsoon in India, it rains like that for like 3 months. Every day. Trains stop, people's lives stop, cars start floating, different things happen. Anyway, there was a day it was raining and I wear glasses. You all see glasses? And rain started. So quickly I found a shelter. So quickly I found a shelter. And within a shelter I was waiting. And more people came. You know, when it's raining, more people come. So as more people came, everybody. Now I can't go to work. There's a problem. There was a couple that had its own issues. I told you, you should have gone earlier. You know, somebody's money was wet, so he took out a 20 rupee note and he was trying to dry it. So he can soon need it. You know, so everybody was stressed. But there is a father and a daughter that came, a young father and a daughter. And the father was, you know, at that time we had just started mobile phones. He was on a mobile phone. You know, and the father was busy trying to cover his head, quickly run. Yet this young daughter who was walking and she had put her hand like this. And as rain was coming, she could collect some water, drinking water. Now we were all busy, and this girl every time she would just collect water. And the rest of us were like this. What was amazing was it was raining. Nobody felt I need to take time to just observe the rain, feel the rain, because there's nothing else I can do. Why don't I enjoy what is there? You know, for those next 20, 30 minutes, he was full of complaint. The only person who was happy when it was rain, in fact, she kept asking. Collect water and drink it. Imagine all of us were busy in our problems, but this child was busy in her opportunity, was busy in her experience, was busy in asking questions. In life, we'll have many showers. We'll have many showers. Is that right? Things are never going to be same. What we grew up with as children is this. We all pray. Is it right? Don't make your hands this way. Whenever it's showering, think about who can give you something to elevate, to get out of that. If you think like this, you shut your brains, you shut your work life, you shut your inspirations. Are we together? In Tanzania, we say tuko pamoja. Ndio, I like that. Okay, so I thought that I should bring some of those anecdotes in my life that have shaped me. I hope they have taken time to resonate with you. I can, of course, go on with a lot of stories. Now, let's talk about my life. I have 4 lives. That's what I told Arnold. He was like, what? I have 4 lives. Actually, we all have 4 lives, if you see it. My first life is me and myself. Me and myself. It is the choices I make for myself. What I read, what I want to have as my own hobbies, who I want to talk to today, what I want to listen to today. You know, how am I becoming a better person? I ask 2 questions to myself every day. Well, I ask 1 question which has 2 answers. And the question is, if this was the last day of my life, how would I want to live it? I have two choices. One is worry about tomorrow because I want to be there. Or two is make the most out of what I have today. Which one will we do? The first one, is it right? So ask yourself that question. Are you making the most out of yourself? Go and look at the mirror and say, what will make me a better person today than yesterday? That means you know yourself. And you're getting back to my life. My first life is me and myself. If you're not happy, satisfied, you're not nurturing yourself, honestly, can you impact anyone else? No. It's really about growing yourself, understanding yourself, nourishing yourself. A lot of us want others to talk to us. Oh, you're great, you're good. You know, if somebody, how many of you are on Instagram, by the way? Instagram or Facebook? Quite a lot. The others, they don't want to tell you that they are online. When somebody does, you post something and somebody does thumbs up, how do we feel? You feel? You feel good, yeah? You feel good, yeah? Imagine if you posted something and nobody did this, how will you feel? You feel bad? You feel bad, is it right? Why do you think it matters whether what somebody thinks or doesn't think about yourself makes you feel good or bad? Why don't you ask yourself, are you feeling good about yourself? From childhood days, we are nurtured like that. You know, me and my brother, they'll say, oh, he did this better, you did this better, is it right? So I'm not saying that it is abnormal that when somebody does a thumbs up to you, you need to feel happy. But what I'm saying is, are you thumbs upping yourself? When you posted, you didn't post it for others, you posted what you wanted to post, is it right? Stop there. You did what you wanted to do. This poll should not stop you from doing what you want to do, whether they like you or not. I can tell you I am very hated by many. Because I'm going to ask a lot of questions. Remember, I'm going to drive more productivity, I'm going to drive more efficiency, I'm going to drive new ambitions, new sales targets, new growth targets. I'm not going to be like, is it right? How I do it is important also. So I'm only going to be like if I'm caring, I'm nurturing, I'm supporting. But the reality is I'm going to make many lives uncomfortable. And when you want comfort in life, you're not growing. So imagine how much discomfort I am going through to make somebody else's life uncomfortable. I don't like it, but that is all about growth. So I'm just trying to say that in life, learn also to be uncomfortable. And that is your best growth moment. So my first life is me and myself. My second life is me and my family and friends. This is what Arnold saw. So I have also I have goals for myself. I have goals for my family and my relatives. Then I have a life with my organization, Standard Chartered Bank, and the many other boards that I'm part of. That's professional. And finally, I have a life with my belongings. And my belonging is Africa. So I love to serve Africa. I love to serve African friends, brothers, sisters. I love to create impact here because I know there is a big demand. So I have 4 lives. Now, how do I balance 4 lives? I think the first thing is whether it's myself, my family or friends, my organization, or society, the most important thing is all those lives have to have people. My colleagues are brilliant. I admire Wiki so much. I admire Douglas so much because they give me the best outcomes, but they give me the comfort that Africa has a bigger purpose. You know? So in my family also, my kids and my wife and my family is very nurturing. In society also, I get connected to people who nurture each other. And when it's about me, I find people who are going to be my mentors. I don't tell everybody who are my mentors, is it right? It's your moment with them. I have a board of directors, by the way, just for Sanjay in corporation. I have 6 CEOs who work with me. Every quarter we meet, and I can tell them what, the CEO job is the most loneliest, us pros. Everybody wants answers from her. Who is she going to get answers from? Sometimes it's very difficult. So I have this board of directors. So I'm saying in life, you also all have 4 lives. Your school, or your university, yourself, your family and friends, is it right? And then your belongings, your community, your society, everyone. So I set 3 priorities. I don't call them goals in essence, but I have an overarching purpose, because without purpose, I will not get satisfaction in all of them. And when I achieve 3 for the office, 3 for the relatives, 3 for my social life or community life, or 3 for myself, then I choose new 3 ones. So they're not cluttered. My fellow brothers and sisters from Africa, I hope what I say is making some sense. I am by no way a guru of work-life balance. If you ask many people, they feel I'm very complicated. I work crazy hours. That is what they may feel. But like I said, it gives me health, wealth, and plenty long-term happiness. Let me stop here. And see what questions we have from you. I was told this is the brightest university. Yeah? Let nobody control you. Don't feel the person next to you is going to laugh with your question. Say what you want. Thank you.
There you go. Questions? And if somebody can also follow the audience online, if they have questions. Yes, Mr. Jola.
Thank you. My name is Julius Pitawola, commonly known as Jola. I don't have a question, I have a comment. And just to say, thank you. Today you have rekindled in me to know that happiness is a long term and it's a process and it's a choice. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Jemima.
Okay.
I'll confess, I came here with bias. I was like, what will Sanjay do with my direction? Sanjay tried to tell me about what life balance. That's all over the place. Helping him maintain that balance. But I like that when you're in motion, then you maintain balance. When you use the analogy of a bicycle, I realize the bicycle is only balanced when it's moving.
Yes.
And it's not. So that's my take home, and thank you.
Okay. Questions? Yes, Dr. Wako.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Those are areas that I would be challenged with I was comparing myself and my friend of how people are really exploited our efforts, the business and efforts. Something that we expect somebody to do something that or better, and then they don't do it, and then we feel exploited. Then at one point when I was complaining myself about some of the platform that was the center action talking about if she was telling us that if we feel we are exploited, let us do more. That's one. In this city life, all that was supposed to be. How can we do, especially friends and relatives who are seeking exploiting and also the society that we are in, and then we are encouraged to do more. That's why that we can be compromising on I and myself. And I think that's the point that I want to make.
So, also it's a very deep question for a comment. And thank you for being honest. And you gave me a bias. Now, in life, we all are biased, is it right? I know I'm biased. There's many things that I think the way I want to think. And then remember, I was just telling my colleague Nicholas yesterday that I have this bundle of newspapers. We went to read some of them. So I look at the first page of the paper, in the second newspaper, first page, third newspaper. You know, in this world, it's only bad news. So we are constantly thinking about what is not right. Is it right? We don't give you a chance. But you asked about this exploitation. And I think it's very important. So I think there are a few rules of the game so that you don't be exploited. The first thing in life is just know that the only person who can stop yourself is right. The second one is to ask questions. There's lots of people who say you can't do it. You ask them why can't I do it? Then they can't answer. Right. So every time seek clarity. And the minute you seek clarity and somebody says, I think, then you stop. That is your thought. If you have a reality, then let's stop. Because in our world, everybody says, I think this, I think this. They all trying to be polite, but trying to be submissive about what our potential is. I think the third thing is really, and this is what we all need to learn, is really around making decisions. If you ask yourself how many decisions have you made, it's not simple like I carry a book or a pen. Those are simple things in life, routine. Ask yourself how many non-routine decisions you make, which means you're analyzing, you're being creative, you're thinking differently. So I would also say that one other rule of the game is to take decisions. I think the final one is really that we all have the same amount of time, is it right? 24 hours. In that time, I was taught once, you can think small, or you can think big. Ask yourself, are you thinking big? Then you will not exploit yourself. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm hearing. Don't worry. So I'm in motion. I listened to the service and kind of listened to what I have had this conversation, but just to give you the countryside, one thing that I think which really impacted me because of the place we are right now is again that when I was writing my theory, I went to school that was near the end of being sure I come from around that time. So there is long tracks taking the other side. But as I went to my theory, I was like, one day, I need to go and find out where these tracks are coming from. Because then it was exciting. And so that for me became an interest. That beyond my district, beyond my town, I did work very hard. And actually, all of these works are still where they're coming from. And I've noticed the first time I came to Kampala, I got to find out
where these trucks that were coming to the whole way to get to the price. I thought that was really important. I thought that's important. Second one is a question. I agree with you that failure is just be the beginning of the success. That's one of the first. You also gave us 4 factors of influence: yourself, family and friends, your workplace, and the legal community. I think also that is very important. And what will make you happy? You did talk about failure, and I would like to comment about this. How that influences, because you really want to push, you want to make others contribute, not make them succeed, but contribute their success. But quite often you get disappointed and not necessarily failure. How do you forget to
Very good point, huh? So, first of all, I'm not a professor. So, from my perspective, I feel that we all feel disappointed when we have expectations. This word called expectation. And many times we don't communicate or align on expectations. So I'll tell you, the other day I was talking to my wife and she said, "Oh, I'm disappointed you didn't call me for the last 24 hours." Because she had it. Right. So I would just say that we all have the right to be disappointed about something. You know, war broke off, disappointed. So that's very terrible. Right. There are things happening around our side, our world, you absolutely need to be disappointed. Because they are against your DNA. But I'm also very clear that you can actually manage a lot of disappointment by just this thing called communication. So how many times I've said, raise your hands, ask me questions. It's very hard in our community and society to ask questions, to communicate. If there's one strength you need to create so you don't get disappointed, just communicate. Right? Communicate. I told you I was a poor Tanzanian, just the way you can feel someday you're so privileged sitting here. You know, when I was in a university, I had 6,000 people. We didn't even know how to put our hand up. You have a voice, many things. So I would just say one best way of cutting disappointment is alignment through communication. I want to pick it up here. You have a wife? Yes. Yeah, or your mother? Oh, yeah. So I have this thing that I want to do a lot for my kids. I want to do a lot for my mother is not there, but my mother-in-law, for my wife. You all have intentions, this is right. So I can do many things for them, but it's their choice to be happy or not, this is right. And sometimes I may do something and they'll say, "Oh, I wish he had done this." Do you all feel that sometimes? I wish he had done this, this is right. So I have this rule. At the beginning of the year, like when I set my 4 lives, I'll actually call my mother-in-law and say, "The year has started. What would be meaningful to you this year that we should do together? How do you want me to take care of you?" Then I'm reducing the point.
Yes, and we're running close to time.
Sorry. Life is all about?
Well,
Health? No. I said work-life balance is about health, wealth. My version of birth. Yeah, no, that's a very, very good question, by the way. And first of all, A lot of us feel that I'm a banker, is it right? So I know all the answers in wealth. My purpose is just two words. Enabling life. Personally, I'm in this pursuit of enabling life. I, as the CEO, I'm called as the chief enabling officer, not activity. You know, I'm in the business of people. It is Vicky and everybody else who is in the business of banking. Yeah? Anyway, first of all, well, what is my personal definition? You're asking my definition. When I learned about wealth, you know, somebody asked me if there was a book you had to write, what would be the title of the book? And I say, the book I would write is The Common Uncommon Things. Why? Because there's so many things in this world we are not being taught. One of them is money management. We all are finding our own ways of managing money or understanding money, the philosophy of money. I don't know why it's not being taught. For those of us who are parents, we never got good parents. We all find something, but there's no formula to real parenting. The other thing in life is, I grew up, my parents and my teachers and everybody, I was a dreamer, I used to dream too much. So many times I would hear this word called focus. Focus on that. Concentrate. Think about that. How many of you have heard that word? Many of you have heard? Yes. Yeah? You all heard that word, yeah? Have you been taught how to concentrate? Have you been taught how to focus? Have you been taught how to think? We have never been taught all those things. These are the most common things in life that are uncommon in our life. Anyway, your question was about wealth. My first learning of wealth was from my father. And he said in life, you always have a need and you have a want. So what is the need? The need is survival. The basics that you need to make sure that you are nourished okay today. The need is also things that you absolutely must do. For example, if you're doing your education, it's a need. So anything that is a must is a need. Make sure you have enough money to meet your needs. Everything that is a want is bonus. And our needs keep changing. When you are very young, your needs are very different from my needs today. Is it right? We also need to say we are Ugandans or Tanzanians. We have some realities in our life. What are the realities? Every Ugandan or Tanzanian has 10 more bodies we are going to take care of. Right? In every year we have at least 3-4 marriages and 3-4 funerals. Right? You know, so these are not wants anymore. They are needs. So plan those things that are a necessity because of the community that we are part of. We all need to study. But internet now is not a want, it's a need. It's right. Yeah. So my definition to you is I have a different way of creating wealth. You will have a different way. Just make sure any time of life, don't compromise on your needs. Thank you.
So we'll take 2 more, unfortunately, and then we will close. So the first one there, I think that was going to watch.
Morning.
I am the firefighter. Thank you for the one was the issue of the balance. This was the father's story. 529. There's something like I needed to get to know about habits. Because we need to have habits. The bigger reason, because your father was interested in listening to the whole world and which started by government. impact this project. Secondly, about cancer, how to make that decision. Think very fast. Use the available growth. The student brother, what was doubted. Such a scenario, each year, yes, doubted, someone trying to take a position and decision to achieve something, and I've seen results. Even other factors, push that, some people just by making a decision and use other people. But I always bless the system. I need to put more infrastructure so that maybe one of us follow this. Thank you so much.
Thanks. So you asked about habits. I think habits are very important in life. I also wake up at 5:29. Yeah, I have a slightly different rhythm, but I also listen to BBC every single day. It is the story of my life, something that has nurtured me, something that has nourished me. And there is no day I don't learn from it. No, so there was words of my parents playing, but we have to have many habits. I'm just going to ask you to have 3-4 habits. The first habit is ask questions. It's going to make you the biggest winner. Even when you said somebody had doubts on me, if you ask questions, why do you have doubts on me? Maybe they'll tell you something which they're deep. So this habit of asking questions is, you call it habits is, don't make it personal. Don't become personal. We're all different people, is it right? So we stress about too many things for no reason. Then we forget the bigger purpose. I come here at, let's say I come at 9 and I come at 9:05, before it in 5 minutes. Look, doesn't have discipline. You don't know what's happened in my life, is it right? So worry about things you need to worry about. Like I said, we worry about too many things. So one of the habits I would say is worry less. Worry about those things that in 5 years' time are going to be important. I think the other thing when it comes to habits is, you need to have habits for 4 levels. So to make the most out of it, reading is a great habit. Learning is a great habit. I always tell you, lifelong learning is not a choice. I'm learning every day. I was learning from Douglas in the morning how to clean the car. He bought some machine, he was cleaning the car, I was watching him, and I was like, wow, I wish I could do that. And I was so happy with his face, and how excited he was. And he was telling me, this bucket will not work. I need to do it different. It's amazing. I can't do that. That's his job. So I would say learning is a very important habit in life, whether you read. And the other thing I say is we all have same time. You can think small, or you can think big. So create that habit. Now the self-doubt thing is in especially in our world, it's not, I've been in many countries. There's self-doubt everywhere, by the way. And that is because somebody has not done it, so they're doubting themselves, but they're telling you that, oh, can you really do this? They're actually asking themselves that I can't do it. You get it? Yeah? So learn to understand, is the self-doubt really on you or themselves? I think we're all mature adults now. If anybody asks you and you're not happy, go and ask, why do you think you doubt me? Lionel Messi was asked so many times, you have a messed up leg, how will you play football? The biggest footballer in the world now, is it not? Everything someday went through self-doubt before it became a bigger reality. If you tell somebody that, I remember when I was young, talking about this TV, we used to have TV where you had to go and change the channel. And I know one of my friends said that there was something that we changed the channel. And then we got a remote control. You're right. Now we have Bluetooth. All these things went through self-doubt. But you just go into your mission. Good evening.
And yesterday, how to make people and how to be the best of them.
Very point. You should think of becoming a CEO. That's a very important question. You know, as CEOs, growth, we do two things. We are both in the business of people. For us, remember our success is based on the people who work with us. But in many ways, we can say work for us, because they work for us. So that hierarchy that counts. So for us, our biggest success is when our people become successful. So every time me or Rose asks a question to you, who is reporting to me, the question will be, what's your dream? And Vicky works with me, Douglas works with me. If their dream is bigger than my dream for them, I will do whatever it takes for her dream to succeed. I will challenge her, I will ask her all the kind of questions, but it's really for her to achieve her dreams. If her dream is smaller than what I think she should be dreaming, my task is to make sure that she dreams big. And the minute she dreams big, I start supporting her to succeed. Otherwise, the work is really to make sure that she dreams big. So as a CEO, that's our work. So that's the relationship you should have is let people create miracles out of themselves. I just met Rose today. She came from a very different life where she had so much magic happening. She come and create magic here. I don't know if you recognize how precious she is for Uganda. Let's give her a clap.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. So big round of applause. You know, in my position as a boss, very rarely do people say to me, you are great.
That is true.
That is actually true. When we have moments of recognizing other people, I'm usually pushing the human resource to recognize everybody, because it feels almost selfish that I'll be recognizing myself. So thank you so much. And again, it crystallizes the point of those four exactly. Starting with myself, starting with yourself, and then building a world around you, because you have taken care of yourself. I think we gave Mr. Sanjay a difficult task. So many of us. So majority of us had biases coming into this conversation. I was not part of creating the topic. So when he walked into my office this morning, I said to him, but you see, in all these women forums, you know, where we sit at the global level, we have agreed that there is no such thing as work-life balance. So what do you have to say today? Did he do the subject, you know, good service? our life as leaders, every single person, and those online. Okay, that's wonderful. That is the purpose of this conversation. Now, we are going to do a couple of things here. Let's do that. We have a center there where we can take the picture. Secondly, we have officers from the bank. I want to invite one to talk just briefly about what services are available. Is it Vicky? So I would like to invite Ms. Vicky to come and talk to us. After which, I will invite the DVC back to give a vote of thanks. And then we have breakfast as usual. Okay? So. Tell us briefly about what's available.
Thank you very much. Very honored to be here today. And very good morning to you all. My name is Clarke International. I'm responsible for individual banking clients like yourselves to really ensure that your financial needs somehow or somewhere met. And that's why I'm here today. It's so difficult to talk after Sanjay, but I think my job has been made by Rose. Just to clarify on why we are here and why you're seeing this balance here. Just to also maybe when you had Sanjay was coming a banker, the expectation and everything else. So I want to also align you to that expectation somehow, and that's why I came along with my people to talk to you so that you understand exactly what we do and what our roles are in, adding that value or impact in your lives as you walk that journey of life. So it is, financially it is more of personal conversation, yeah, and that's why it will take some time to engage each one of you. We have products, we have services that are suited for everybody in all your, life cycles where you are at some certain point in life. So we'll take some time after this because there are quite a number of things that we do, from onboarding you, enrolling you in the bank. We have accounts, we have investment needs. Somehow, you have to have an investment journey or a savings journey. You can start there, and you have all those products that are suited for students like yourselves. For our lecturers, I've had quite a number of people in here. So we'll take some time as we interact to see, go somewhere and talk about some of these things. I don't know whether you've heard about the famous shilling investment that has been running. That one is a product that I would encourage each one of you here in this room to take away, to get without fail, because that's where it starts, and then we go on building it up.
So, friends, I told you about my dream, become global from Tanzania. One big reason I've been very successful is this is my 26th year. I worked in 7 countries. Now, I just want to give you 1 or 2 other things in life. In life, never reinvent the wheel. If something is done by somebody else, you either beg, you steal, or you borrow it, and then create something new. Now, why am I saying this? Is because if somebody else is more smarter than you, go and spend time with them and become smart. And personal finance is a journey where you absolutely need to become smart. It's a need for you, it's not just a want. The second thing I must tell you in life is, I'm so happy you're part of Clarke University, which is now affiliated with so many other universities, so many important people, as you can see. In life, choose the brands you want to be associated with. It gives you a bigger value. The day I was Sanjay Rughani, I had a value. The next day I became Sanjay Rughani from Standard Chartered Bank. My brand changed to become 20 times bigger. Even when you consume something, you use something, you get service from a great brand, Standard Chartered Bank has been there for 170 years only, 112 years in Uganda. We were the central bank at one time. Just learn to associate with style. Enjoy it.
Wow. Sometimes you can't add anything when a lot is being spoken. And I'm so grateful and thankful to Mr. Sanjay, first of all, to accept to come and speak to us. And of course, CIU is privileged. I also want to thank Professor Rose for giving us this series this year, 2024. And as we consolidate this year, we are Mr. Sanjay, and we were still crowned as we close the year as well. One thing I want to present to people present here as well as those online, Standard Chartered is not an alien to CIU because we have been having a long-term association as an organization, because Standard Chartered had actually provided scholarships for about 140 workers from National Water on the workforce development program. So I want to thank Mr. Sanjay and his team for enabling this. And for your information, Mr. Sanjay, he successfully graduated all of them with flying colors. I'm told that Standard Chartered still has got about 800 slots. And we would like to utilize that because CIU is committed in developing this work development force. So besides that, just a thought, Professor Rose also just whispered in my ears, we might plan to have a short-term course on the psychology of money, specifically on the financial behavior, because that is quite a challenging habit in Africa, because money is, in Africa, the moment we come here, money is there to be spent, not to be saved. So I think we need to have that intentional short course. And in the presence of our colleagues, I'd just like to extend this request. Can we have a joint program? We can extend this conversation later, but if there is a possibility, we would love to have a joint collaborative venture to offer the short-term course, not only for Ugandans, but for anyone who would love to wish or who want to have this kind of a learning process, short-term course, which will be jointly offered by Standard Chartered and the Clarke International University. Is that fine? So we have to utilize this opportunity, and we shall extend the conversation as to how to implement this later on. But I'm glad that you have already nodded in assurance.
There are two modules to this.
Okay.
The first module is just financial literacy. The next module is relationship. Financial literacy, you already do that. So maybe we can come and do it with students, with staff, absolutely happy in market. And the psychology of money from a relationship with money is that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, once again, I want to record my sincere appreciation. Thanks on behalf of the staff and students of Clarke International University to Mr. Sanjay, the CEO, the Managing Director of Standard Chartered Bank Uganda Limited, and also the entire team. Thank you so much. This morning has been so precious. We value it, and then we are grateful. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite Madam Shamira and Professor Ross. We'd like to show gratitude by giving you a token of love and appreciation to mark your visit to Clarke International University. Please accept this.
Thank you.
Okay, breakfast and pictures and questions. You are all